Hey guys, it's Lori from Laura's World, and we're getting ready to interview a woman that I started following on Instagram. Her name is Kim Bellas, and she started a brand called Sober is the New Cool, and I just love it. I love her, and she has agreed to talk to us, and she's up in Montreal, Canada. So let's see what she has to say. Hi, Miss Kim.
Hello, I'm just getting my earphones in.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I love your background. Sober is the new cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. Kim, I have to tell you, like I'm on Instagram and I follow, all these sober sites, and I'm so glad that I came upon yours. I just truly, from the bottom of my heart, when I hear you talking, you've just got this piece about you that I admire. And when I said that to you the other day, that you were such a power example, I meant that. I really did. I'm just like, oh, I just love to hear what you have to say. And thank you for doing this with me. I so appreciate it.
Listen, I'm so honored every time anyone asks me to talk because I just, it's something that was never supposed to even get to this point, and it's just.
I know.
It seems
and I know for me, being I started getting sober in 2010, and I'm a very proud member of AA, and I know it's supposed to be Alcoholics Anonymous, but the longer that I'm in it and the more that I see, just I felt the need to talk about it, and share stories, that it is possible to recover. You don't have to be quiet and sit in the background if you don't want to, and I do know people that do like to stay anonymous, and that's fine, but I love to hear people's stories. And so I did hear a little bit about yours, and that's what really piqued my interest, because you also had a son, like I did, and that's when I got sober, was for him and with him, even though I really didn't want to do it because I was afraid. I didn't think I'd ever have fun again. Not at toward the end of my drinking, that it was even fun anymore. But I would love for you to tell people how you got into sobriety.
So basically, in 2013, my younger son, Matthew, started having grand mal seizures.
Okay.
He was a huge football player, big, athlete. And from one day to the next, our world just changed. And so from being, playing football 5 nights a week to not ever being able, well, at the time, ride a bike, play soccer, play football, play basketball, until we figured out what was going on.
Okay.
And at first they thought, oh, no, it's just probably hormonal, he could go back and play football. And quite honestly, for him, his love of sports was what made him feel valuable. And not school, not anything else. He just loved football. So when that was taken away, it was, our life just kind of shattered, quite honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
And, so then finally we got, okay, the seizure part, we started seeing doctors, therapists, whatever. We got some medicine done. Then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, he'd go out and see his buddies, and kids of, 13, 14, 15, they all have the beer and, little mini bottles of gin or vodka.
Yeah.
And so he'd call me and say, Mom, come and get me. He hadn't been gone an hour. So I'd go pick him up. And the third or fourth time, I'll never forget it. I went and I said, okay, this can't, he can't just not have a life anymore. So, because with his meds, there's no way you can drink. Well, you could have 1 or 2, but 1 or 2 never works, right? So,
right.
Then you just don't think too much anymore. So I went downstairs and I said, I'll talk quietly, Tim. And I said, Matthew, you can still have fun. They're your friends. You grew up with them. You don't need liquor to have fun. As I'm saying that, in my hand, I had the biggest glass of wine. And I thought, you are the biggest hypocrite on this earth. And it just was like somebody, slapped me across the face. So I said, okay, I'm going to do something with you right here and now. I'm not going to drink for the next 3 months.
Okay.
So he said, okay, it was like just a 3 month thing to start. And, it came, it went. And then he said, you see now, Mom, you could be like everybody else. You can go back to having wine and parties and this and that. So I said, okay, no, I'll do another 3 months.
Okay.
And being that he was sick, I was very anxious. And without the booze, all of a sudden I realized, wow, I'm sleeping better. I'm less anxious. I'm exercising. Things seem to be like, I'm a little more in control. I started to look better. And so then I thought, okay, no, we're going to do this again. And it's like 8 years later, and I've never touched another drop. But, I have to say, I would hear him along the way when kids would come over, his friends. He'd say, no, you can't bring booze here because my mom stopped drinking for me. So he was kind of using me, as the way to get out of it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know. And I was 52, and I had so many occasions where people would say, nobody's here. Nobody's going to know. Just come with us over here. We're going to have a fast glass of wine or a shot or a martini. And we'll never open our mouths. And I said, but how can I look at Matthew and say, like that I'm authentic? No, I'm doing this with him, and, so be it. And then I realized, wow, it's really hard to be sober in this world. Like, because everything kind of revolves around booze and liquor and fun and parties. So sober is the new cool was born.
It's so glamorous, isn't it? Every commercial, every magazine that you pick up, and it's so socially accepted, Do you consider yourself an alcoholic, or do you consider yourself that you just don't drink for your son? What do you think?
People are asking me that more and more lately, and I really don't know the answer. The only way I can really answer is I'll never have another drink again, because I'm so much happier the way I am now. And I'm so afraid that if I did, that I'd go back to my old ways.
Okay.
So I know now, looking back, I did drink too much. For me, I just feel that we've had issues in our family with alcohol, problems. And so for me, I think it is hereditary. So I think I had that gene, number one. Number two, I know I never felt like I was enough when I was growing up. So I always thought, oh, I'm more fun when I drink. I could be a little more coquette and whatever. And so I kind of needed that liquid courage all along. And then I think that when my kids were born and everything, well, it was the mummy club, 5 o'clock, have a glass of wine kind of thing. And so for me, I guess my answer to it is, I'm not sure, but I would never take the chance to find out.
You just feel better, about yourself. I know that I feel so much better about myself, healthier, more clear. And I did start out doing this for him or with him. And I'm happy, that I'm doing this. It's just another beautiful way to live, and you don't need alcohol, you just don't. You just don't.
And I think I'm having more fun now than I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I seem to be able to, like people said, you were shy, you were like not sure of yourself. How could that be? But I was. I really was not, I didn't feel enough. I didn't feel thin enough. I thought, oh, you should have been a doctor. You should have been a lawyer. You should have been this. There was always that I should have been,
So sober is the new cool. I love it. I ordered myself a sweatshirt. I have not gotten it yet, but I can't wait to get it. I got my white one with the black letters on it. I can't wait to wear it. I understand that some of the proceeds go to the Douglas Foundation Can you
Yes.
tell everybody a little bit about that?
Well, our journey through this, we had a lot of therapy and a lot of, finding, psychologists, psychiatrists to get through this time. And I had friends that were, that do all kinds of events for the Douglas Foundation. They have over 10,000 people that come through the doors. It's world renowned for the brain.
Mhm.
They do Alzheimer's, they do schizophrenia, they do, ADD, ADHD, anorexia. They just cover
Cover
the
it
whole
all.
thing. And quite honestly, when I started going to some of their events, and my son, how could he not be depressed at 14, not being able to do sports and everything being taken away from him? I walked into these events and people were talking about mental health. People would say, "Oh, is your son suicidal, or is your son have what sickness does your son have?" Like we were talking about the weather, and there was no shame. There was no shame, and there was none of this where I felt like, I said, "No, my son's just, we've had a hard time," and I would talk about his sickness, and then I would say I stopped drinking, and the conversation was just so fluid and so honest, and you didn't feel judged, and they were talking about their children or themselves or whatever. Because for me, I believe mental health and addiction go hand in hand. I feel that
Okay, my belief.
alcohol,
Yep.
it's like that band-aid, right?
Yes,
There's
absolutely.
something, a sadness or something that's missing inside you that you don't feel whole. So you use something else, you
Yeah.
don't feel included. And so for me, it just seemed like the perfect fit. And we are in Montreal, and so are they. So we just decided to, we wanted to give back. And, we don't, we're not selling a ton of t-shirts or whatever, but what I do for them is talk about them and their organization anywhere and any time I can, to bring awareness to people that, mental illness is, there's no shame in this. Like, stop. And I think also with the Douglas, the one thing I wanted to do with Sober's the New Cool was, I really like it when they do events and everybody writes checks and whatever, but I wanted to talk about it on a day-to-day basis, not just once a year or 3 times a year for these fancy events. Or I want people to know that stop what you're doing right now. Go reach out to somebody, because 90% of the people, that's the biggest fear they have, is telling somebody what's wrong. Just be kind, like, it's not that complicated, and it
really
takes
not.
no time to reach out. So to me, I just believe in, rebuilding self-esteem. It can't hurt, and it's just going to help. So
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that, by being honest and open about, depression and anxiety, and, my son had an occasion, he barely goes, like he goes out, but not overnight or things like that. And the last 2 days he's been gone for the first time in 3 years because he's seizure free. And so he was on his own with, kids that were drinking, kids that weren't, and he's 23, going to be 24 next month. And I was worried. I have to tell you, I was really worried. Would he, would that be too much pressure on him? And would it, and you know what? He did fine. And he came home and he's so happy. And, I think now for him too, he realizes that there's no shame in him saying, "No, I don't drink," because he did drink a few times when we first started this, and we'd end up in the hospital with a seizure, right? Because it was never 1 or 2 beers.
No, it never is.
Boy. Yeah. So, let's call a spade, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I call something that you did. I don't know for which podcast it was, but I liked what you were saying about, reaching out to other people and having them say one good thing about themselves.
Yes.
And a lot of people have a hard time with that, a really hard time with that. And I was like, wow, I so identify with that. My sponsor at the time would ask me to write 3 things at the end of the night that I was grateful for. And I struggled with it. I struggled with it so much. every single day might not be the perfect day, but there is always something to be grateful for. And and I could say now that I absolutely love myself. I love my life. I love the people that I meet. I love doing this kind of work, service work, and getting the word out. And I'm just so grateful that I came across your Instagram page because I started looking at all these other different things, Kim, and I think that you are absolutely amazing.
Well, I thank you. And, I have two little things I could tell you. I had one woman that was in Johannesburg that reached out to me because she was having, her son has issues with drugs. And for some reason, I said to her, where do you live? And she said, I live in Johannesburg. And I said, 1 second, I think I might know somebody that's around there. 1 minute. So as I was texting her, I went on my iPad and started texting this gentleman. And I said, I have this mother here that lives blah, 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 blah. Well, they live 20 minutes apart.
No
He
kidding.
gave her all kinds of names and places for her son to go to. And that's what I think I love the most about all these connections and all these people that I'm meeting. They're so willing to help others, you
Absolutely.
know?
I had somebody reach out to me last night asking me for some information, and I sent out 10 separate text messages, and within 15 minutes, I had,
It's,
6 different recommendations for him. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
yes.
I love it. I just absolutely love it. And I am so glad that I met you, Kim. So glad that I met you. I didn't know you at all, but I felt such a strong connection, and I thank you for that.
I'm blessed and I'm really honored that you would have me on.
Thank you,
And
Kim.
thank you for mentioning the Douglas also. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
So
no,
thank you
that's
for
all
the
right. I so appreciate your time today, and all my best to you and your son in continued sobriety. And I think the
oh,
sober it is definitely the new cool, girl. I absolutely believe that.
I think so too. I've got actually even older women now, like 75 and 80, buying hoodies and sending me pictures with a smile that's like from ear to ear,
I
and
love it.
they're proud. And if we can take that shame away, it's a disease, and people are getting over it. And if they can be proud and happy, that's all. We're winning. We're winning. We're
Yeah, we
really
are.
winning.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are. Thank you so much, Kim. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.